G'day and welcome to another episode of David Joshua Ford Live here on my channel, talking about things that are live streaming, cameras, editing, all that kind of video production stuff, photography as well. If you have any questions today, please post them in the comments. I'm going to bring them up on screen here and I can try and do my best to go through those and answer them. But for now, I just want to run through what we're going to go through today. Happy last day of February. It feels like we're already too far through this year and I haven't got enough done. But I'm very excited to be heading into March, and although actually March in New York is terrible, terrible weather. So hopefully get through March, April gets a little bit better. But today, my notes ran away from me. Where do they go? Oh, I'm down the bottom here. Okay. Got it. Yeah, so as I was saying, post a comment in the chat because I'd love to talk with you guys and find out what you want to know about. A lot of what I'm doing here at the moment is companion. On today's show, what I want to do is talk about a run of show, which is what I was doing there at the beginning. And then we can look at the Stream Deck that I've got here in terms of what I'm laying out here to be able to get a smoother start to these shows, which is mixing in audio cues, video playback, and also the PTZ moves. So you might have seen before, it was like wide and then I'm pushing in like that. So I've been spending my time programming other parts of the Stream Deck, namely the PTZ cameras. But I find each week that I'm doing this, I'm like, man, I just need some buttons to go through the show quickly. And so what I've got here, if I zoom in here, is on my profile that you can download from the website. I've got sort of 3 buttons along the top here. I've got this main switcher panel. If you hit this button here, it's going to take you to menu. So that takes you to all of the other sub-menus like VLC, H2R, all that kind of stuff. But then you can also have custom and show. And so these are 2 panels that are meant for you to be able to customize what you're working on. Custom is a bit more of like it's there all the time. It's buttons you use all the time. And then show would be one that is like specific to an actual show that you're working on. So in there, completely blank for you guys to build your own buttons. You can basically, from Companion, you can copy any other button from another page, cut or copy, and then just paste it into this page here so that you can access the buttons that you need quickly, because otherwise you've got 99 pages of Companion and you've got to jump through them. And the way that I've built this layout, it's got probably about 3-4 levels. So it doesn't go down too far. Like you're not going through page to try and find one action and then go back up the top. It's fairly quick in terms of you go menu, H2R, and you could change some graphics here, or you go menu, VLC, you change something here. But if you wanted to, you can copy something to a page here, and then under the custom page, you can pre-build something. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. I've got my sort of shortcut keys on the top here. I have a auxiliary 2 out. So what I'm looking at here is I don't think if I can pull this up. Actually, I can pull this up on this one here. So what I'm looking at here is an auto cue, which is feeding out HDMI 1, and I'm usually getting a program so that I can just have confidence that I'm actually sending out the right thing to you guys. And then up here, I've got this multi-view so that I can at a glance just quickly look up and know like what's going where, and particularly like what's in preview, which in my instance is this tiny little box here. That's my little preview monitor, and then I'm pushing it across to program. So to be able to access the change of that screen, I think this will work. Yeah, so I can put program here, so I could get myself in a monitor if I'm just trying to check my hair or something, or I can put camera 1 straight up here. So yeah, this is one where I'm like, my hair is out of shape here. Here we go. Look, backlight's catching it up. So I can just check myself, so make sure that nothing's out of line. Like I've got a little like earpiecey thing in here. Just want to make sure that's tucked away before I go on camera. And then I can either put on program so that it's sort of following what's going to line, or else I go multi-view. And for example, like under my menu, down here I've got my multi-view, and then I've got my 2 auxiliaries, so auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2. When I go into Companion, I can basically copy these buttons and then paste them onto this page. So I've got a short access to HDMI 2 because under auxiliary 2, I don't need all of this stuff. Like I don't need, or we could push like color. You know, we could push white or I think got gray in there, bars, that kind of stuff. We can push like a whole lot of stuff to line that is there if you need it, but it's usually not necessary. And that's where under custom, I've just gone, you know what, I just need multi-view and I need to be able to check myself on camera. So in this custom page, that's what I've got along the top. Last week I showed you the grab still portion of it, which was, let me just cut back across here. The grab still, remember we did last week, which was taking a photograph of what's on program, or if you hold it down, you're going to get a 5-second timer so that you can do another pose. But if we work our way down here, what we've got here is my microphone cutoff. So if I, and so this just enables me to know if my mic is live, and to be able to cut that off if I need that before the show. And then I've got, I'll go into this in a bit, but I've got a pre-show and a run, and I have a blank spot here, which will be stop at some point, or like end show. You know, I haven't actually built that out. As you guys know, time is our most valuable asset, and I don't have a huge amount of time working on that at the moment. So if I can get this, my Bluetooth wireless trackpad sometimes goes to sleep, so I'm charging it. Okay, and then along the top here, I have one, which is my sort of safety button. So if I'm building up a shot, so for example, I've got something where I'm getting I think you can see on the screen up there on the multi-view, we've got just say I've got like, you know, my Mac screen on here and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, I just need to get back on camera. That's where I can go 1, and it's going to take half a second and then cut. The reason for that is because, and you may not have, I don't think you would have seen that because it was off screen as it was happening. But what is happening is, let me just pull it up. Where is it? Here we are. Pull that one up. Okay, let's get this one on screen. Okay, so under this button 1, my safety button, it's basically hiding all the graphics because I just want to get myself back onto screen, right? So it's going PTZ camera 1, set it into this normal mode, which is going to be the fast reposition mode. And then it's going to go back to preset 1. And then it's going to say, put that onto preview in PTZ 1. And then I've got this, if I scroll back up here, I've got relative delays turned on. So all of these delays are 0. So these have all happened instantly. And then 1.5 seconds later, it's going to push the ATEM back to program. And I chose this route to do a program rather than a cut because I have a lot of keys running around. Like for example, you'll see on my keys across here, so now I've got key 2 on, but I always permanently have key 4 on because that is doing the graphics. So if I wanted to bring up like my little, where are we here? David Joshua Ford, New York, and bring up like a lower third or something like that. I can do that using key 4, which is always chroma keyed out. So I want to make sure as I go through here, and I'll just move this page over here a bit for you, that as we go down that I'm not turning off the keys that I don't need. So let's come back to here. We've got set program input of PTZ1 onto program. And then I've basically got another 4 actions here where I'm saying upstream key, put that, turn that off for 1, 2, 3, and then 4. I'm just making sure that's on. So anytime I press this button, it's going to jump across. So let's give that a go now. And half a second, and I'm back on screen. And it's clean, so I can just be like, hey, I just need to get back to camera with a clean shot. And it's also set to be my PTZ1. So, sorry, PTZ1 position 1. If I go to, I'm just going to bring this one back up so you can see what's going on here. If I go to my PTZ cameras, what was happening in the background was that instead of, I got a time mode for the cameras, the time that it takes to get to the next camera position, or a speed mode, which will just not pay attention to time. It's just going to do it at a set speed and it'll get there whenever it gets there. Or what I'm calling repo, like reposition. In cameras menus, it calls it normal. But for me, I think repo is shorter, so it fits on a button and also makes more sense to me. So each time I hit this, it's going to reposition. So what was happening before is when I pressed this number 1 safety button, that was in that 1.5 second delay. It was basically, so just say I was in here. What that's doing is saying, turn the drive mode onto this normal reposition mode, jump back to 1, and I need a little bit of time for the camera to be able to do that, and that's why I set the delay for then, so now push that across the program, and that's what you're going to see. So that's why there was a little bit of delay when I hit the button, and it might not look like anything was happening. It was actually giving the camera time to get to that position, so then I can cut back. So that's my safety button to be able to get back to, are we up here? Let's go back to custom here. My safety button to be able to get back onto camera. But then I also want to be able to, at any point, just sort of go between A and B. And rather than, as you probably noticed, if I'm like, okay, I got to go to PTZ camera and I got to go set my drive speed to slow and I want to go time, it's going to take 20 seconds and I want to go to number 2. So I'm going to start that. I can't do that while I'm talking to you because I'm just going to get lost and lose my train of thought and you guys are going to get bored. So I need to build all that into a button. You could do this if you were like directing for someone else. Like that would make more sense. But if you're just doing it for yourself, then that's going to be a lot harder. So what I've done is taken these settings and built them into this button here so that anytime I can go like A. I'm just calling it A and B instead of 1 and 2 in this position. And this is actually like a 10 seconds time. So on, let me just cut across here. So yeah, this is what the inside of the button looks like, which is A is saying go set the preset recall mode to time, make it 10 seconds, run it, and then after that is saying, it's also just putting that onto camera in case it wasn't. So for example, if I now go to, just say I want to get back onto A, I can press that almost like a cut button and then I'm back on. And the advantage of this is that it hasn't actually changed any of my keys. So at this point I've got key 4 on, which is always on. I want to make sure that that's not going to get lost because if I ever want to bring up a comment, which is, good morning, say hi, let me know where you're from, then I need key 4 still always enabled to be able to do that. So I don't want to mess that up as I'm building some sort of like macro button that's going to change a whole lot of parameters. I'm going to get that off. Cool. And then the next one will be B. So there we go, we can push in. And that's just a nice little like, hey, I don't know, making a point with a little zoom, I think is always a little more emphatic. Okay, so let's go back to this pre-show and run. As I mentioned, I've got a mic button that I can just like cut if I need to. So I'll probably do it at the end of the show and then let the audio run. What I've got here is I've got an audio mixer where I'm actually running my computer sound and my microphone up here. Let's see if we can pull this up. So we go to PTZ, see how many buttons this takes. 4. Oh, I'm still across there. There we go. All right, so this is my desk from the top down. So I've got this shotgun microphone, which is Sennheiser 416, which is the audio that you're listening to me on, and that is running into. This is where I can pull up my live track over here. So it's coming into channel 1, and then I've got through the USB connection, my Mac's audio is playing out, which is what I've normally been doing. But what I am still to set up is to separate out the audio because otherwise when I hit this, where are we? Let's come back in here. Otherwise when I hit this button, where are we? This microphone button, it's going to kill my mic and the mix. It's going to kill all the audio because all of the audio is actually being mastered on the Zoom LiveTrack L8, and then it's being sent out and into mic 1 on the ATEM. So what and I'm still in the middle of setting this up. I was sort of getting there before the show, but the other way around that is because I'm running this through VLC. So you remember that what I've got over here is I've got 2 monitors and I've got a copy of that going into the ATEM. And so this is my VLC monitor, so I can see the playback of that. So if I go, let's cut across here. If I bring my mouse over here, you can see this will actually pop up. Let's cut over so you can actually see what I'm doing. And okay, so if I go audio, last week I was using it on the Zoom LiveTrack L8 driver and sending the audio out through that. But what I'm working on is actually sending it out through the HDMI connection to the Blackmagic. It gets confusing because they don't have separate device names for them. Like I don't know, it'd be kind of nice to be able to differentiate that. Basically, you pick one and then you watch for it on the background of the, where are we? Let me pull this up. On the audio. Yeah, so you just sort of watch this on the background. So if I hit play on VLC, you can see that that's coming through here because I'm getting audio through there. The other one that's connected in is this Mac one, but I can see the levels that are coming through there. Okay, so now we've got to get that audio out, which is, wait, what did I do with that? So this is coming out through VLC. And I'm not hearing that because, what have I done here? It is coming out, okay. All right, so let's just hit my safety button here. Am I back on screen? Back on screen. It's still playing in the background. Okay, so that brings me to my next point, which is the way that I'm audio monitoring through the ATEM Extreme and the LiveTrack is that, I'll pull this up. Let me go to PTZ 2 on LiveTrack and let's cut over here. So microphone's coming in 1. I'm just going to push this back here because it's very confusing. And then this channel 7 is receiving program audio from the Mac. And then I'm on, what am I on here? Okay, so I'm on master and then I've got a mix A. And so basically what I've done is the master is receiving the computer and the microphone, and it's going, mastering that, it's sending it out through this jack here, this 1/4 inch, which is stereo, and it's going into the ATEM Extreme, and I've got a little audio device on that, which is like a ground loop like a ground noise loop isolator, which just helps take out some of any interference that gets in with unbalanced lines. And then what I've got from the Extreme is that's coming back out of the headphones and it's going into here, into this line 8. And I'm sending this one into the mix A. And then I've got a toggle switch up here, and this is what I'm monitoring on. And I can flick between the master and mix A. So you're not going to hear this, but again, safety buttons. Excellent. That's so good, because before I was like, I got to get back on screen. Okay. What I'm hearing in my earpiece now is I've got 2 options when I flick that monitoring button. So for most of the show, what I'm listening to is just the program out of the audio mixer itself, because my microphone audio is going to be in sync with my voice. So I don't have that delay where then it gets very difficult to understand myself. Because I got to think about like hearing my own voice back on the delay. But if I do want to check what is actually hitting the ATEM downstream, then I can flick over and now I can hear my voice and I can hear that there's no audio. Whereas now if I hit audio, I can hear that's playing through. So that's one of those things that just enables me to sort of monitor both ways. because talking at like this at the moment where I'm hearing the audio and also hearing my voice with a slight delay is very confusing. So let's pause that. And I'm going to flick back over onto there. All right. Let's get back to, where are we? We're going to go back to this one. The decks. Okay. So under here, I've got, so that's my microphone button. So I can turn that on and off, and that's how I'm monitoring between just killing my microphone before the show, or when I had that video pre-roll with the music on it, that's coming in through input number 7, which is, for me, it's called VLC. So now I have 2 buttons, which are pre-show and run. Again, I keep forgetting to record this show, so let's do this now. I did this last week. Okay, I am streaming, which is good. We better check. Let's check in with you guys, see if you're actually like here and chatting along. Where are we? Get my comments up here. Got a whole bunch of people in here. Excellent. I'll go through these comments in a bit. But any more questions, post them in the chat, and we'll get to those. And even just say hi. Let me know where you're from. It's always good to know where people are from around the world, and to not talk to myself, but to talk to you guys. So that's great. All right, let's go back to this button here, which is custom. Okay, so pre-show and run. Pre-show is basically, as I'm setting up, I want a button that I can get to, which is going to be my first position. So this is not recording and this is not streaming. As you can see, I forgot to hit record, but I did make sure that I was streaming. The way that I do that is I don't do auto start on YouTube. I actually, from here, will initiate the stream from the ATEM to be sending out, and then on YouTube, I will be just looking at, is it coming through? And then a couple of minutes before, I will go live, and then we're set to go. And usually around that time, I should be hitting record, because I don't need all that sort of pre-roll stuff. I want to save disk space, that kind of stuff, but obviously I have forgotten. So maybe I should build that into my my pre-show. No, probably not pre-show. Maybe run. I wonder if that would be good. I could put this down here. I could put in like a ATEM, what do you call it? Recording. No, sorry. Yeah, recording. Start or stop. I can toggle. I could go on. So I'm going to do this with recording. I'm not going to play around with streaming, just in case we like mess up something. This shouldn't change anything because I'm already recording, so I'm just going record again. So this could be my safety, just so that I know that anytime I hit run, that I am starting the show. I don't really like that, because I do like test that out before the show, and then I'm like starting. I'll leave that for now. Okay. So what I've got here is my, oh, sorry, I wasn't showing that. Basically what I was doing there was, I was going to record, start or stop, and I was going on. So I was going to delete that other one. Putting that onto camera there, so that it would start under the pre-show, and then the run. That's under the run button. Okay. So now I've got this pre-show button, and I'll just press it, and you'll see what happens. So let's go. All right, so I've got to bring my microphone back on, because essentially, let me just pause VLC. This is going to be a little messy because it's going to keep on doing that. But where am I? VLC, that one, and I want key 2 up. Okay. Excellent. Get back on screen. It does a whole lot of things, so I've got to like go find myself. What it's doing here, if I go back to that, is, let me bring over the Mac. Okay. So we've got, I'm just going to run through this, and then I'll run it a couple more times, but I'll explain what is going on at the moment. All right, so I've got camera 1 PTZ. I'm saying put it into the normal drive mode, which is going to be the fast recall position because I want to get there as fast as possible. And then I'm going to go preset recall. I want to go back to my number 1 position. On the ATEM, I'm saying put PTZ into the preview. And then on the program, I'm saying put VLC into the program because I want to have some video playback before we, as we get going. And then the command I'm also sending is VLC hit play. I don't want to do the other command, which is like pause resume, because it's more of a toggle. I want to just make sure this is going to play. So if VLC is playing, it's going to keep on playing. I've just got this video on a loop before I start the show. And then what I've done here is I'm using the Fairlight Audio command. So this is under the ATEM Mini Extremes audio inputs. I'm saying pick VLC, which is channel 7. I've just labeled this VLC, the stereo source, and turn on the mix. And then I've also said set fader gain to 0. So I just want to set it so it's like at a base level. And then I've got these upstream keys again. So I'm saying number 1 upstream key, turn that off. Number 2, turn that off. And then 4 I just left out of this. 3 I haven't even done anything because I'm not doing anything with it today, but I might want to build in that. So maybe I'll go on air is the upstream key on air. So I want to make sure key number 3 is off. And then I'm going to drag this back up just so that this makes sense. Where did we go there? Too far. Key 1, 2. It's going to pop that one in there. Wait, I did have that already. Okay, hang on. Losing track of my things here. Okay, so we got key 1, key 2, key 3 off. And I didn't have a key 4, but I'm going to make a key 4. And I'm going to make sure that's on air because that's my graphics. I'm also saying using this change selection command, and I'm saying I want to make sure the background is on and then keys 1, 2, 3, 4 is off. And if you're wondering what that is, what that's saying is under the switcher, it's saying the next transition is going to include the background, but I don't want any of these other keys to change because I just want to keep it the way I've got it. All right, and then last of all for the pre-show is I've set my microphone to off. That's why it disappeared before when I hit that button. So if you can't hear me, that's what's happening there. And then yeah, so let's give that another go. So you're just looking at some like random compilation that is, I've got input number 5 for the Mac, which is showing you what's going on here, and I've got a key that's on, and so when I press this pre-show button, it's going to reset everything and it's going to be getting ready to go. So I'm going to hit that now. And I'm going to turn my microphone back on just so you can hear me and so you know what's going on. But yeah, this is what it looks like on the other side, which is I can see the VLC playback as we're going through. If I need to monitor it, I can flick over and just listen to the volume mix. I'm going to jump into VLC and just turn the volume down a bit because that is a little too loud and dramatic, but there we go. All right, cool. Yeah, so I've got that coming through there, and then I can see on my now I've messed it up, so let's just go back to pre-show. All right, so there we are. And I'm gonna bring up my, on camera 2, I'm gonna cut across to multi-view, like that. So you can see what's going on here. But I've cut across that, so that has swapped. But I have my VLC in the preview, and what I would have in the preview instead would be me. It's difficult to show you that without cutting around that as well. Okay, cool. Let's go back. Pre-show again, just gonna pause the VLC playback. Let's go back to safety position. There you go. That's why you need a safety position, because then you can get lost and you can find your way home. All right, so the next thing is, if I can bring this on, is not that one, but it is this one down here. Okay, so then we get to run. So currently we've set up a show where I can be doing things and trying things out and trying different keys and that kind of stuff. And then it's going to put me into a first position so that when I would then go over to here and I would hold this button down to start my stream and I'd send it out to YouTube, get that going. And then once I've done that, I'm essentially live. So I don't want to change anything at that point. So that brings me to the countdown that I have, which is happening under here, custom, is I've got this countdown to the time of day. So I start at 11 o'clock and that's where that little thing is going to come on. I'm going to go over to my Mac screen here and I'll show you how that's set up. I do see your chats here. I'll come to all these in a bit, so feel free to put a comment in the chat and we'll get to that in a bit. Okay, so I've got a couple of things in H2R that I'm building here. One is this countdown to time of day. It's not going to work at the moment because I've just gone past it for today and see how that went like negative and then it got rid of itself. So if I edit this, I could make this, what's the time now? 11:30. Let's just make it 12, right? So this could be the countdown to the time of, so this could be, maybe I call this finishing, yeah, because this is a countdown, so it's going to give me the time, not the actual clock time. All right, so don't want 12, I actually want PM. And then we're going to close that, and that has saved it, which is good. So now when I press this button, it'll go like that, or it did. There we go. All right, so finishing in 27 minutes left on this show, because our show will be in and out in that time. So that's essentially what I've got in terms of that clock that's counting down and it's overlaying sort of a dynamic time over the top of a pre-recorded video as I come in on that. And then, all right, that brings us to this run key here. And I'm just going to move this around a bit so we can get a bit of organization. Line it up. All right. Okay. So when I start a show, I'm actually doing that manually from 11 o'clock. Just so that if I'm not totally ready, then I can give myself a couple more seconds, but I do try and be like to the second, hit across on it. You could automate that in so that at 11 o'clock, that button triggers and you're on camera, which is another way to do it, because then you don't have to think about the sort of switching stuff and you could focus on just being like very present and being like, hey guys, welcome, and we're going to talk about this today, rather than as I did at the start of the show where I'm like, wait, it was in my notes. I'm like thinking about buttons and I got to think about like what we're going to talk about. So that is another way of doing that, which would be probably something for another day, but essentially it would be going into triggers here, and then you can set various parameters to press buttons at certain times by setting a trigger. But that is another topic for another day. Okay, so back to this run button. What is that doing? Let's have a quick rundown of that. Okay, so on this run button, we've got, I'm just double checking that I've got preview input set to PTZ1. It's sort of a double up in terms of it should already be set by the pre-show, but just as a safety to make sure that that is all set, then that is going to make sure that that is in preview. I've set I'm not doing any like camera repositions at this point because it should be in the one position from the pre-show button, but I'm going to put my drive mode into this time. It's going to be a time mode for the preset to be recalled. And all of this can happen instantly, so I don't have to worry about any time for cameras to reposition. All right, and so then I got PTZ1 set drive time to 30 seconds. So I've got a very nice long time that I'm saying to get from position A to B. And then I'm saying preset recall, go to preset number 2. I could choose any one of these other positions, but I can just, this is always preset to number 2. And then essentially what I've got on, let me jump over to, yes, let's go to this one. What I've got on my PTZ is like, this is how I set between the cameras 1 and 2, right? So if I'm on repo, this is gonna very quickly punch in and this is gonna punch out. But just say I wanted to, you know, I like shuffled over my seat somewhere and I didn't quite get it right, then I could use these keys here to find a new position. And in my monitor that I'm looking at, I actually have a little crosshair so I can line myself up with that. You know, I could sort of put myself between these graphics, or I could be more centered. Maybe I'll just, you know, I can move this across a bit like that. And then what I want to do is, this is still showing me the last position that was recalled, but if I long press this, this has committed that to memory. So now when I go back to 1 and then back to 2, it's going to push me into that space again. So, you know, here I've like built something around the graphics. If I get rid of the graphics, then I'm probably out of center here. But essentially that's where position 2 is being saved as I'm setting up the show, which is just making sure that everything's in sync. The same thing with PTZ2. You can see I've been through here and I've actually labeled these positions because over the course of a week, I mess around with the lighting and I move desks, or I like pull the desk out of the way and I do a photo shoot. And so when I come back to doing a live stream, all of these have shifted kind of, or I might want to like reorient them, but I can just jump into Companion and then rename them in terms of, you know, having like a 2-up of the 2 different decks that I've got. I could go to the left, go to the right, or else like pull out to show a wide view. And you saw before in terms of me showing you the audio mixer and the multi-view up here as well. Let's come back to this position here and we'll come back to our custom. All right, and our run button. So what I'm doing is cutting across here. Oop, sorry, my Mac screen. All right, run, here we are. Okay, where were we up to? I recalled preset number 2. And remember that every time I press this, this is by default changing the drive mode to me to be, you know, a 30-second time to get from A to B. Otherwise, if I didn't have this command in here, it would very quickly, you know, flip from position 1 to position 2, which is not a good look, not very dramatic. And then, all right, so then once that is kicked off, so we're starting a 30-second move from position 1 to position 2, then I have this relative delays turned on. So this is happening one after the other. So all these 0-second delays, they've all happened instantaneously. And then after 250 milliseconds, because the camera takes like just a little bit of time to sort of start moving into the drive. So that's why it's got a tiny delay on it. I'm saying perform an auto transition. So that is mixing across from the VLC video playback and mixing me onto screen. This is something I need to work on because I need to get the VLC to fade out. I didn't quite have time to do that, but essentially what I've got is after I've done the mix, I want to pause VLC, which stops the audio anyway. So what I'm going to do later is move the pause after the audio fades, but I didn't have time to set that up. So we went straight into the show. And then I've got this show hide graphic, so I'm actually pulling on a lower third for me. And then I've got another 5 seconds and it's going to go off. And we've got our recording start stop here just for safety. So we're going to keep that on and we'll see if, you know, that interrupts because it shouldn't do. All right, so let's go back to, if I put this on here, so I'm going to go to my pre-show. All right, and then it turned off my microphone. I just realized my microphone was off with that pre-show thing, and I was explaining that all to you. So what has happened there is it's put me into preview, and it's got VLC playing, and I was just cutting across. But I'm going to cut back so you can see what I've got going on. All right, so the video is playing. Let's just say this is counting down to 0, and we want to hit the run button, which I'm just for the sake of like tutorial, I'm going to put this key on so you can see what's going on. So when I hit run, it's going to stop VLC and it's going to push me across, and I'll be saying welcome. So here we've got David Joshua Ford, and I can be like, hey guys, welcome. And normally that timer would be going away because it has an automatic going off when it hits the time, which would be 11 o'clock. And this is essentially what I'm looking at in terms of my panel to be able to watch the zoom in and then cut back to camera 1 and that kind of stuff if I need. All right, so now what you can do with me is we can build the end of show together, which I'll use at the end of show because I didn't have time to set this one up. So let us go back to the Mac. And here I'm going to start a button. I'm going to call it end. And just because I like things to be the right type, we're going to be 24. Okay. So what happens when I finish a show? I need to play out on VLC. So I know that I'm going to need a VLC command, which is going to be play. I might want to do an actual play ID. So maybe I want to do clip number 1, for example. Just I had like clip number 1 loaded. So I could actually delete this one because it's going to hit play. And we can test this as we go. Hold down Shift and I click that. All right, so that's playing in the background there. Every time I click it, it's starting again. I'm just going to pause that. All right, so the VLC is playing, but what I want to do is, how do I want to end the show? I think I want to go back to PTZ 1 position. So I'm going to go recall, and I want to go preset 1. I want the drive, set drive, sorry, I think it's mode. So many commands in here. Presets, toggle recall mode. That's what I'm looking for. No, not toggle. I want to actually set the recall mode. Set recall mode. Okay. I want to put it on time because that's easy to calculate. Time preset set drive time. I'm going to make it a 10-second out. And I'm going to drag this one down here. So we're going to set it to, so this is assuming that I'm on preset 2, and I'm going to say set it to time. We're going to take 10 seconds. It's going to start zooming out. I'm going to put on relative delays because I want this just to go through. And then what am I going to do? I'm going, VLC started, so I'm going to want to do, make sure VLC is in preview. So I want preview, set preview input. And I want to make sure the preview is containing VLC. Move that one back up. All right, so saying play VLC, put it in preview, set the drive mode, set it to 10 seconds, and then start that maneuver. So I can do all that stuff right away. And I know that I got 10 seconds to get there, so let's just say we're going to put in an perform auto transition, and I'm going to give myself 9 seconds to fade across, and I might add in a fairlight. Set, so many here. What do we got? Set input gain, adjust input, set fader gain, set input mix option of VLC, and I'm going to make it on, and I'm going to get a set input, go down, set input mix option of VLC to be off, and this one I'm going to move back up the top. I could set the audio. I'm not going to do that here just because it's going to take me a little more like fiddling back and forth to play around with that. Let's set the VLC just in order. Okay, so we're going to turn off VLC's channel because I don't want to hear it while I'm talking. In a more in a more complex version, I could actually set the volume of it and I could get it to go up and down, but that's going to be too much fiddling around. So what I'm going to do is get VLC, turn that off on the ATEM input audio channel. We're going to set the preview input to VLC. We're going to hit play on that clip so it's playing in the background. And then we're going to start this camera stuff. So that's starting the maneuver. All of this happens right away. And then after 9 seconds, 9,000, this is going to fade across, and then we'll just be on VLC, but the VLC will be, the audio will be on. And also, what else should I do? I should kill my own microphone. So set input mix option, set input mix option. And I'm going to turn my microphone, which is on mic 1, stereo, off. All right, so that should hopefully give me something to end the show with, so that I can basically go, okay, I've got to wrap up this show. I need 10 seconds out. I know that I've got like 10 seconds left of a sentence as I'm basically saying goodbye. And so then we'll see how that goes. Hopefully this will work. Let's give this a go. Oh, also we've got this key on here, right? So we probably need to make sure we have some keys that are going to be turned off. So let's cut back and we put that in first. So we're going to go on air, and I'll do 3 of them. On air. I'm going to keep the 4th one because remember that's my graphics. On air. On air. Okay, so I want off key 1. I want off 2, and I want off 3. And 4, I'm just going to leave alone. But this will make sure that if I'm, shit, come back here. There we go. All right, where are we? Mic on air. Starts to look the same. Okay, roll this one up here. Some of the first things we're going to do is turning off the keys. Number 2, drag that, scroll up. It's a little funky. 1, 2, and the 3rd one. Okay, 3, and I'm just going to keep this in order so that, you know, when you come back to that a couple weeks later, you're like, what was I doing here? All right, so we're going to turn off the keys, run VLC, start the camera. We're going to do a mix operation 9 seconds into it, at which point we are going to turn on VLC's audio and going to cut my microphone so that I can then like cough or something like that. All right, so let's pretend I am talking to you and I want to wrap up the show, and I've got this thing and I'm saying, this is my profile, go to my website, hope you check it out. Until next week, hope you had a great chat, and I don't know, go make something awesome, and I'll see you later. And all right, how was that for you guys? Did that work? Let me know in the comments if that worked and that was all smooth and running across like that. I could imagine like maybe what you'd want to do is put in a timer maybe so you could see like the 9 seconds counting back so that you can time out your sentence. Or you could not put in the auto and just do that as a manual press. So for example, if I go, where are we? Microphone. Okay. So if I take out this one, get this across here. So I'm going to take out the auto option here. Oh, but then we still need to cut that. Okay, so then what I would need is a separate button to kill this post stuff. So that's where I'm just going to copy this and place this down here. And I would clean this up later, cut out or something like that. And I'm just going to delete these buttons because, you know, do this as fast as you can. Okay, are we up to there? I did delete that. So I got my VLC. I need to add back in my perform auto transition. I'm going to put that at the head. I'm going to do auto. I'm going to turn on VLC, off my microphone. And I would probably lay out this a bit differently. And then on my end button, let me get rid of this one and that one. Okay, so now what we've done is we've essentially separated out this end, like, you know, trigger and end of show, and then like cut out. So let's go back to, let's put our key on because that was good to be able to see what we're doing. And let's just say I'm on screen, I'm chatting, and we have, no, let's get there fast. Where are we? In there? So I'm chatting to you guys, okay? And we want to get towards the end of the show. So I can just have my fingers ready. And this is a great thing about Stream Deck is I can have my eyes up here and I can feel with like 2 fingers here that like this is going to be to trigger the end of the show. And then when I'm done speaking, we're just going to cut out. Hey guys, you know, thanks so much for being on the show today. And if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below. Until next week, guys, stay safe. I'll see you then. All right, I think that worked. Did that work, you guys? Do you think that worked? Let me know in the comments. But that's essentially how I would put together a run of show. Like I was saying here, this is something where this is easily accessible under this custom. You can basically double tap it. So you go, you know, I can press this button to get to the menu. I can jump over to custom. If I hit custom again, it takes me back. So I can just very quickly jump in and out of these different screens. These first 3 are essentially all combined because I can go show, cut back to the switcher, custom, cut back. So if I need to be able to run my show, this is generally how I'm going to be doing that. And then if there's something that's not in there, for example, let's just say I needed to change the input on this, I could go to my menu, go to my keys, inputs, and just say I want to put, what are we on? We're on input key number 2 is what's being used on this, which is PTZ 2 at the moment. So I could put myself in there, I could put the iPhone in there. So all of this stuff can be done from the Stream Deck as well. And you get back to the screen there. All right, let's get rid of this for now. And we're going to jump over to some comments. You guys have got a bunch of comments here, which is great. All right. I'm just going to go through the welcomes for the moment. IT never gets old. Greetings from Shoreview, MN, USA. I'm guessing that's Minnesota. I'm not from here, so I'm probably not totally across it. Is it Minnesota? Let me know. Kassel, Germany. Did I say that right? Brian, oh God, good to have you here. What else we got? IT never gets old. Pre-roll videos are truly beautiful. Thank you. This is drone videos that if you've been around my channel for a while, this is kind of the demo, dummy material that I kind of send out with the package, just so you have 3 videos that you can load into VLC and play something out. And yeah, it's just kind of some of my drone trips around the world. There's actually a couple of places in there now, so that's been good. We've got Joan from Berlin. G'day. Good to have you here from Berlin, Germany. And what do we got? John is here. Excellent. He's finally joining live. Good to have you here, John. I will wrap up before your show. I believe you're on today. You better be on today. I'm sticking around to make sure that you are on in an hour. If you guys, once you're done with this show, an hour after it is John's show. So just type in here to record on YouTube and you can search for that. Cool. Yes. Amen, Minnesota. Excellent. I'm glad I got that right. John also wanted to let me know that the hair is perfect, which is good. I'm going to get into those close-ups. Excellent. We've got guys from India. Go Web Technologies. Namaste from India. Yep. I'm still working on this H2R graphics stuff. As I've said in other weeks, it's using the Pi. So this is not a representative of H2R. It's more representative of the Pi's capacity at the moment in terms of playing that out through the network. John from the UK, good to have you here as well. Sharif from Oman, pleased to have you. Paulo from NYC, just around the corner. I am in the sort of Flatiron nomad district of New York, so that's where I come to you from every week in this little studio. Today is purple. I don't know, every YouTuber has purple studio, right? So I didn't do a little pre-roll video today. I was just doing the old drone videos, but because I was running out of time. But essentially I've relit this, and what I've got is a aperture 300D Mark II with the mini dome, just because it's a bit smaller and manageable in this space. And one of the things with the PTZ cameras is I think they look the best if you can run the gain at 0 because there's less noise. But that means you gotta crank the lights, you know. So I've got this light here, which is let's get rid of this one. Where are we? Yeah, which is running at, I don't even know what percentage, but it's fairly bright. And then up here I've got the Fresnel on another one with a purple on the back of it, just doing a little background splash. And then on the back here I got a little key light, a hair light. So that's kind of how all that is, that's how that all is working out. Okay. Emmanuel Francis is coming from Cape Verde, West Africa. That sounds very nice. I would like to go there one day. What else we got in here? Michael, great to have you here. And thank you for your support over the years. One of the very first guys to believe in this Stream Deck thing that I was building, and I appreciate your support there from Hamburg in Germany. What else we got? Coming through these comments here. And a couple of chat I see amongst you guys. And and John was saying, if you had a few seconds delay to the final out button, then you could press it, say your final words, and the transition would be hands-free. That's true. Yeah, I could press a button and then know that I've got 2 seconds left to just really nail my words rather than having the finger on the pulse. Yeah. Okay. Paulo wants to know, possible to apply as an assistant, really want to learn and more enhance my ability with streaming. Well, you're in New York, so shoot me an email. Let's chat because you're around. So that sounds cool. All right, let's go back up the top. IT never gets old. Question was, I was looking at the specs of the Canon N300. That's the two cameras that I'm running here for the top-down view and what you're looking at. Very impressed with its connectivity and output options. Did you get the NDI version? The good and the bad news is that they're all NDI by default. They're NDI HX though, which is a more compressed version, so it's an 8-bit signal that's coming out. So the way that I've got mine set up is this camera is doing HDMI out because it's going to be a 10-bit signal, and also there's not as much latency, and that's going into the ATEM Extreme. And then I've got the camera up the top, which is, where is it? Up there. So that's the one that's like mounted in the ceiling, and that's just running the Ethernet connection from a PoE switch. So what I've got is a Netgear PoE switch. So I've got the one cable for data control of the camera, and then the NDI is coming through there. And then I've got a Magwell Pro Convert something or other, which is also PoE. So that doesn't need any additional power. That goes into the PoE switch as well. And then from that box is HDMI that comes out into the ATEM Mini Extreme. The downside of running it via that is that there's a little more delay on it. So if I go over here, put my hand in camera, and I'll get rid of this comment. Where are we? Duh. Okay. So you see that delay? That's the difference between, so this shot is HDMI, which is going to have the fastest processing, and then this shot in the in this panel here is going to be via via NDI back to HDMI into the switcher, and this is the delay. So it's enough that I wouldn't run. Well, I would either want to run both cameras through that so that the video is in sync, and then in the ATEM I would delay the audio coming through. At the moment I've got like 2 frames on it for this angle. But then for this overhead shot, because it's more cut-ins, B-rolls, that kind of stuff, is not like lip sync, I'm not so worried about the 10-bit quality of it, or the sync of it is not quite so bad. Where that gets a little challenging is if you're trying to do chroma key. So I was doing chroma key a couple of episodes back against the wall here. I had the green screen down, and I was doing the virtual display zoom in, that kind of thing. And that's a bit harder because you're running an 8-bit green signal through the NDI. So if possible, HDMI is going to give you better quality. But it's very convenient to be able to just plug the one cable in. So that's one of the reasons I've actually only bought one box so far. Is it's for like when I go to a gig and I just want to like run a wide shot somewhere up high or a long way away, I can just run one Ethernet cable to it and not worry about like a SDI or an HDMI cable coming back. But ideally, you're running the HDMI as well. So. Yeah, cool. Couple more comments here. Paulo is from Portugal with the good vibes. Appreciate the good vibes. And we've got Canon from Florida who loves the stuff. Thank you. Appreciate that. I do need to get down to Florida soon. New York is killing me. It's like so cold today. And I am missing Australia, which is now open, but it's just like a long way away to get to, and they're all having summer back there. So not so ideal with this pandemic that's just been dragging on and on and on and on. Cool. What else we got? A lot of chat in here, which is great. And yes, it has HDMI, SDI, USB, and NDI. It is very versatile, and I love the fact that I've just got it always on in the studio. So even when I'm doing like a Zoom or a web call with someone for meetings, that kind of stuff, I can actually use this whole setup, which is nice and probably a little bit too fancy. All right, I think that's about it. If there's any more last comments, good drone sites, yes, yeah. I need to do more droning. I've actually only got the Mavic 1 which I bought in like, was that 2016 or something? And I mean, the Mavic 3 looks great and it's got the ProRes and all that kind of stuff. But living in New York City, my use of it is a little more like things outside the city. Like most of what I shoot is in the city. So I just haven't been able to justify like spending another $5,000 on a drone that I can't fly a lot of the places around the New York City anyway. So yeah, but then getting out and traveling is definitely good to be able to do that. It's also wondering if there are any good PoE injectors that are good for portable setups. I mean, there's some stuff on Amazon, on B&H. If you just search for a PoE injector, if you want an individual one. I actually bought one for the Pi recently, which I've been trying out. Let me just see if I can pull this up in my account history here. I also bought an Apple TV recently, and then there's no audio out option, so I bought some of that stuff, which is very annoying. Cool, where are we? Okay. This is what I bought on February 9. I'm using this to run the Pi. So I've got a PoE coming out of the Netgear, what do you call it? Netgear PoE switch into here, and then that is pulling out the power and splitting it so that in the Raspberry Pi I've got the network connection, and then it's powered off this as well. So I've just been giving that a go, and I've just been running with it and experimenting with it in these sort of settings where it's not as it's not a client. So it's like, if that dies for some reason, then yeah, it's, what I've been enjoying about doing these shows is I just get to road test some of the gear and probably some of this sort of stuff, which is, I don't know, you never know what comes off Amazon. So that's sort of like a PoE splitter, I guess. It's not really an injector. The other PoE would be like going the other way, but there's plenty of that on Amazon. Otherwise, I actually really like the switches because it simplifies the number of power bricks, because you can, although before this show, I had a little audio problem, which I resolved so I've got a lot of, so the cameras, the Madwell, the Pis, they're all running off the PoE coming out of this Netgear hub, and then that's like a 130 watt switch. So that's nice to have one power into that rather than 6 of them, and sort of cleans things up a bit back there. And then I have a separate 12 volt one, which is running some down converters, and it was plugged into the ATEM Extreme. But I noticed I was having some audio static feedback, and I spent 20 minutes trying to isolate it, and I was trying to work out if that's coming through the USB bus, because sometimes if you plug USB into the computer's power source can sort of dirty up the background ground loop type thing. But I solved it by actually plugging in the ATEM Extreme with its power adapter. So, it's anytime I go to a shoot, it's handy to have some of this stuff that can consolidate all of the power things. But I always bring a bag of original power, adapters and that kind of stuff, just because you never know either when you need to move some gear further away and you need to plug in power, or it's just too much to handle on one thing and it's creating other problems noise and that kind of stuff. So yes, if you have had audio interference through your ATEM Extreme, then I would recommend plugging in its actual native power adapter, which you probably do already, which is great. What else we got? Mavic 3 is amazing. Not sure about the Cine, but the Pro is great. Yeah, I mean, for a lot of things, I think the Mavic 3 versus the ProRes version is probably very similar. It's just more if you're going into higher end production and you want to really push the color grading, and I would imagine some of maybe the sharpness, that kind of stuff, if you're dealing with a lot of trees and all that kind of thing, like this kind of shot that I've got here is not a good example because it's HD sort of compressed stuff, but all this, the biggest problem I have with Mavic 1 is this kind of shadow detail in the trees just gets a little mushy, and you don't want to push it too far the other way because then it can get very sort of sharp. So, but it's better than not doing that. It's nice to have a drone, and it's nice to have a drone that I'm now at the point where I'm not so worried about it crashing or dying because then I get a new one. that kind of stuff. So Polo wants to learn more. Yes, come learn some more. Let's chat. Yeah, thanks for another informative stream. Well done, thank you. And Martin wants to know if dismantling the studio setup when going to gig must be painful. Yeah, it is. It's not. Yeah, it takes a while. So one of my next projects is probably just building a rack to try and consolidate that, because it can be a little bit bespoke otherwise, like trying to not take too much gear for a shoot if it doesn't require it, but just to kind of bring that all into a rack would be nice with this Extreme. I haven't actually been using the ATEM Mini Pro a whole lot. I mean, I haven't been using it as a primary switcher. There's been times where I've been using the Mini Pro as like a secondary one or some sort of downstream switch, or I've needed to put it like near a projector to just kind of route video through like a long cable rather than running multiple cables and that kind of stuff. So, IT Never Gets Old also uses this PoE adapter for a Raspberry Pi, and it works so very well. It's good. I'm glad to hear that it's working for you, because it's been working for me so far, and yeah, I think it's just like burning in hours and also having a backup to make sure that it's all good. All right, guys. So we get to this part of the show where we have to run this, and we have to finish up. We have to go see John's channel, which is on YouTube at, where is he? H2R. I always pull up motorbikes when I type in John's stuff. Here we go. So, yeah, here to record. What's his web address? Here to record. YouTube.com/C/here to record, and it doesn't have a live show. Oh God, John, you need a live show. I was trying to throw people to you, but okay. So I don't think he doesn't have a live show. Yeah, John. I'm not sure that he has. I'm not sure that it's happening, but hopefully it is. Hopefully it is. One more question from Michael. New topic: replay during the show. Any idea how to resolve that? If you're talking about like a sports replay, I don't have an immediate solution for that. I know there's like a workaround in OBS that you can record stuff and then trigger it on the Stream Deck and play it back. It's a lot of like setting up different things to kind of, so it can be kind of, yeah. John does have a show. Excellent. I don't know where it is. I can't find it, John. I must be looking at the wrong channel or something, but I'm looking at oh, no, here it is. Okay, it's further down. It's further down. My apologies. It is down here. Okay. 46 minutes. There you go. Just enough time to grab a coffee, use the loo, come on back, and to see John. So this is one of those things where I'm like, oh, I really should be at my B position because I got to wrap up the show. And remember we set up that thing which is going backwards. But yeah. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up, and let me know in the comments if you're watching this after the show, what you want to hear about next week. So at the moment I've been covering a lot of companion and just building out some of the concepts in terms of like, taking photos on timers, or like this run of show, or different sort of profiles that can help you automate the show and play it back. If you want to hear more about that, let me know. If there's other things that you'd like to know in terms of live streaming, video production, photography, all that kind of stuff, then I can do something on that. But until then, let's get this show finished and wrapped up, and I'll see you on John's channel very soon. See you guys. Bye.